Hi everybody, welcome to class 4. This should be the last class in our series. We're going to be talking about managing your post-op surgery diet. So not only are we going to focus on the phases of the diet post-op, but we are also going to be chit-chatting about long-term, how we can hopefully help you be successful, not only in the first couple months after surgery, but years from after surgery when we're kind of looking at even maintenance. So let's kind of dive right into it today. So diet advancement, we have a 5-phase diet after our surgery here at Avita. So this 5-phase diet allows for proper healing. So it allows that stomach to properly heal after just having it cut and stitched and all of that good jazzed and stapled. It allows for a slow adjustment to your new stomach capacity or new size. So going from, like we said in class 1, going from a football or a 2-liter bottle down to a shot glass, it's going to take some time for not only you to adapt, but for your brain to adapt to what a new portion size looks like. And also kind of helps us diminish, but also helps us discover potential problem foods. So once again, going back to class 1, there are that list of common problem foods we give out, which include things like we've got doughy carbs, sugary things. We also have fibrous fruits and vegetables on there, and also some of those tough, maybe dry meats. So hopefully this will help us, like we said, kind of avoid some of those, but also kind of limit, like we said, some of those other maybe potential problem foods that you might hit along the way. So these are the names of the 5 phases. We would like you to know these when you are coming in for your final. So they are clear liquids, full liquids, pureed foods, soft foods, and regular foods. And before we kind of go into these different phases of the diet, let's kind of look at the timeline here. So in the hospital, discharge. Before you get discharged from the hospital, day of surgery, just meaning that the day that you have surgery, you will be placed on a clear liquid diet once they feel like you are ready to start drinking. None of the foods are going to really be solid. You can have sugar-free Jell-O, so I guess you can consider that a solid. You are allowed to have that, so I guess you could eat or drink your clear liquids. You're usually on that for less than 24 hours. By the next day after your bariatric surgery, you will be advanced to full liquids. This is usually around lunchtime, so here at Avita, we will give you a strained cream soup usually. We also try to have you get some sort of protein in, so we might have you do a protein shake before you leave. But you're usually going to be on that full liquid diet for about 2 weeks total. So when you go see your surgeon or you go and see your CNP for your 1-week follow-up, you should be on a full liquid diet still. Once you get advanced to the next phase, which is pureed foods, you're usually on that for 2 weeks. So at your 4-week marker, or about the 1-month marker, you should be on soft foods. Soft foods then turns into regular foods. I would give yourself about 1 to 2 weeks on soft foods before starting your normal diet. Normal diet, always in quotes, you want a bariatric friendly diet, of course. So phase 1, clear liquid diet. What does this look like? Like we said, first day post-surgery, sugar-free Jell-O, sugar-free popsicles, Crystal Lights with something we call Juven. So if you're not familiar with Juven, we use that here at the hospital as a protein supplement. It is more of a protein gel than a protein powder, but it is unflavored, so we just sneak it in some water with a Crystal Light packet to make it taste nice. You can also have decaf coffee and tea while you're here, and a high-protein broth that we make. No carbonated beverages, no caffeine, no straws while you're here. If a straw manages to make its way onto your tray, just please avoid it at all costs. So like we said, less than 24 hours on the clear liquid diet before we get advanced to full liquids. We have a little slogan here for phase 2. If you have to chew, it is not phase 2. I think this is really helpful because full liquid, even though there's liquid in the title, there are food items on here that are not liquids. They just have to be really smooth, no lumps, no bumps, no nothing. They should be very, very easy for you to, like we said, swallow without really having to chew it. So second day post-op, usually 1 to 2 weeks. Like I said, you should still be on it at your 1-week follow-up with Dr. Karras or the nurse practitioner. You can then talk to them a little bit more about what's going to be, when can I advance, but definitely at least give it that week. But Your full liquid diet includes things like protein shakes. We have Ensure Max here at the hospital that we like to use. High protein smoothies. If your blender works great, you might not have to run it through a strainer, but in most cases you might, especially if those fruits might have some seeds. That'll be nice. Those would probably catch it if you've got like a mesh strainer at home. Skim milk. Other milks are fine. We prefer the low-fat milk, so if you could do a 1% or a skim, we would prefer that. With the yogurts, look for light, look for low-fat, but also watch the sugar. Also watch for the texture, because not all yogurts are smooth. They might have chunks of granola or fruit or other things in there to be mindful of or to avoid. Strained cream soups are fine, so if you want to do a cream of chicken, cream of mushroom, cream of celery, even just creamy based other soups, maybe like a broccoli cheese soup or something like that, run it through a strainer. No chunks, no bumps. You can do some hot breakfast cereals like cream of wheat or grits. No oatmeal. Oatmeal is way too fibrous. And then sugar-free puddings are allowed as well. Tip with the sugar-free pudding, if you can buy the packet and make it yourself, it's going to have more protein, whether you make it with milk or if you even want to increase the protein, make it with a protein shake. No carbonated beverages, no caffeine, no straws. So on that for 1 to 2 weeks, start on your puree diet after that. So these are kind of a solid food in a sense. Yes, they are pureed. Yes, they're not used to the normal solid texture, but these will not stay in your stomach. Or sorry, reverse that. These will stay in your stomach longer than the liquids will. So we usually start to measure these food items out to about 1/4 cup to 1/2 of a cup, that shot glass size that we talk about in class 1. Striving for 5 to 6 mini meals throughout the day. Try to get a protein source with every meal and snack. If you're not getting it through your food, you got to supplement it. As we mentioned in class 2, use those protein powders, use those protein shakes, use the protein waters. Whatever works for you, you got to meet your protein goal. 60 to 80 usually for most women, 70 to 90 for most men. So that's where the range that's on the screen comes from. But get that specific range for yourself. If you haven't already, ask for it at your final or ask for it prior to coming in so we can give that information to you. Protein shakes are often utilized during this stage, and baby food is kind of the texture that you're looking for. You can buy baby food. You can buy baby food in a glass jar. You can buy baby food in the pouches nowadays. So if you like the applesauces that come in a pouch, same idea here with the baby food. You could even do applesauce if you wanted to. Just try to look for a low sugar variety or no sugar added and try to keep it less than 10 grams. You can do other food items that are considered pureed foods, such as small curd cottage cheese. If you don't get or can't find the small curd, just run it through a blender real quick. It'll get out some of those bigger bumps. If you can do a smooth nut butter, like a creamy peanut butter, that would be acceptable on a pureed diet. Trying to think here if there's anything else that I can think of off of the top of my head when it comes to pureed foods. Like we said, you can buy baby food. You can also make pureed food. So you could take a soup and throw it into the blender and make a pureed food. You could do the same thing with maybe cooked vegetables, add some chicken stock and make a pureed vegetable mix. So you can definitely get creative, or you can kind of stick with some of those pre-made products if you would like to. So on that for 1 to 2 weeks, and then we move to soft food, which is phase 4. This usually kind of happens around your 1 month follow-up, so that's when you come and see a dietitian. No raw fruits or vegetables on this stage. Typical, once again, solid food needs to be limited to about 1/4 cup to 1/2 of a cup. Strive for 5 to 6 mini meals. Get your protein in. Once again, if you can't get it in through just your food and your beverages, add it using the supplements. Anything that can be cut with a fork is kind of our general guideline for soft food. So lots of soft, moist cooked foods, soups, casseroles, slow cooker meats, things in your Instapot, canned fruits and canned vegetables, steamed vegetables, even roasted vegetables. If they get nice and soft, you should be fine. Scrambled eggs, ground beef, ground turkey. These are going to be some nice options. Chilies are really popular. You can use ground beef or ground turkey or a mixture of both along with some beans, and those beans are always nice and soft, so you can go with that. So if you can cut it with a fork without putting a whole lot of pressure or effort, you can kind of consider it a soft food. So I guess the only exception to the no raw fruits or raw vegetables would be maybe a banana, especially a nice ripe banana. Just watch the portion size. 1/2 of a piece is what we would recommend. So moving from soft foods, you get back into regular food. So regular food, small frequent meals, get your protein in, watching the sugar. Remember to cut your food into small bites, chew it really well. All those things that hopefully you've realized we've been stressing throughout this process or, your journey. No specific food restrictions, but still practice caution, especially with those potential problem foods or very common problem foods. The raw vegetables, the raw fruits, some of those tougher meats, maybe like a steak or a pork chop. Even your doughy carbs would fit into this category. If you can't remember back to class 1, we always just recommend when you're trying new foods to take your time with it, chew it really well. Don't drink with your meal. Make sure that you maybe have a journal or a place that you can log what goes well and what doesn't go well. That way you can avoid some of those foods for at least a couple of weeks and then try them again. When you're transitioning from phase to phase, please just try one new food at a time. It can be really confusing if you try multiple new foods at a time. You won't know what's causing the issue for you. So like I said, regular food, in quotes, bariatric friendly is what we're still focused on. So homework, things that we would like you to work on between now and your final would be to create your own menu for phase 2 and phase 3. There are samples in your guidebook or your binder, that yellow tinted Guide to Bariatric Surgery book that's given to you over in the bariatric clinic. Strive to meet your protein goals while you're on this diet. So make sure that you are trying to, like we said, meet your protein goal. So make sure you're choosing foods that have protein in them, choosing things that you know that you can afford or that you like to eat or won't, things that maybe you're not allergic to or have an intolerance to. Don't just take the sample menu and copy it. Make sure it's something that's actually going to be useful to you. So there are bariatric cookbooks and websites that can be helpful if you're looking for some ideas. So please bring this with you. We might even have you submit it online. I'm not 100% at this point, but we want you to do this. We want you to go through the full liquid and the pureed foods on your own and try to come up with a menu. So phases of the diet, when you're making that menu, these are some phase 2, phase 3 options. The milk is phase 2, yogurt phase 2, cottage cheese phase 3. The skim milk is phase 2. It has some of that Carnation Instant Breakfast. You could also add protein powder of your own. That would increase the protein drastically. The cream soup is phase 2. The sugar-free pudding is phase 2. Peanut butter is phase 3. Baby food is phase 3. Pureed meat is phase 3. The non-fat dry milk, that would be a phase 2. You're usually mixing that with a liquid. Soy milk or other milk alternatives would be phase 2. Just realize that almond milk and rice milk don't usually have a good source of protein to them. Tofu is considered a phase 3 food. Refried beans is a phase 3 food. And last but not least, the liquid egg substitute. That says it right there for beverages only. In the guidebook, there is a recipe in phase 2 that talks about a eggnog. So that uses the liquid egg substitute. You are not cooking it, you are drinking it. It is pasteurized. Technically, it's safe to do. So if you want to utilize it, go ahead. If not, just realize you have to get your protein from somewhere else. So beyond phase 5, looking long term, looking outside of that phase diet or that very structured eating pattern that you will follow for the first month to month and a half, depending upon how long it takes you to move through. So beyond phase 5, why do we have to have this discussion? And I really want to update that picture. I really do apologize. But basically what we're talking about is that the honeymoon doesn't last forever. And to me as a dietitian, that means a couple of things. Number one is that there is going to be a point where you honestly can eat whatever you want, and since the portion sizes are so small, and since the metabolic effects of the surgery are still really strong, you will lose weight, even if you're not making maybe the most healthy or nutritious food choices. And it kind of pains me to say it, but it is true. So you don't want to start developing bad habits after bariatric surgery, even though you may be able to tolerate it, even though you know it's only a couple of bites here and there, because that's what's going to stick with you. Those are the food items you're going to turn back to, or things that you are incorporating. Also, from a nutrition's perspective, there's going to be a point where we're transitioning from weight loss to weight maintenance, and so that can also be pretty challenging. You're not really losing weight anymore. Sometimes it becomes harder to stick with some of the lifestyle changes because you're not always getting that confirmation or reaffirmation that this is working, the things that I'm doing are making a difference in my life. You're trying to just maintain those lifestyles that you've already been developing over the, the months and years that you've been going through your post-op journey. So research shows little similarity on how people lose weight, but there are common behaviors in how individuals keep the weight off. So that's what we wanted to look at. What are these common threads on how people keep weight off? These are not necessarily all bariatric patients that these habits were taken from. These were actually from a group of people that lost at least 50 pounds and they kept it off for over a year. So they didn't really care how the individuals lost the weight. The researchers wanted to see what they were doing to keep the weight off. So these are the most common trends amongst those individuals and things that will help you on your journey. Maintaining contact with those who aid in your weight loss. Support. There are going to be tough times. There are going to be times that you wonder why you did this. There's going to be times, like I said, maybe when you're in the maintenance phase, is it worth it to keep going? You need those people that know how to support you. And so that can be friends, it can be family, it can be bariatric patients in the support group. It can be in-house team. It could be the surgeon. It could be the nurse practitioner. It could be the coordinator. It could be a dietitian, whoever is there to support you. And hopefully all of us will be able to do that with the follow-ups and things like that. But you got to have that support to keep with it. You want to have those cheerleaders through the good times and the bad times. And I really encourage people to use the bariatric support group because nobody knows bariatrics like bariatric patients do. Looking beyond the scale, looking at health improvements. We call these non-scale victories. So maybe it's losing inches instead of pounds, clothing size, body fat percent goes down, circumferences go down. Maybe lab values improve. Maybe your A1C starts to go down. Your cholesterol starts to improve. Maybe you're coming off of medications related to those. Your blood pressure coming down. Once again, maybe coming off of medications related to that. So those are things to look forward to as well post-op. Hopefully you'll feel better, have better energy, have better self-confidence and self-love. And hopefully just even the social life aspect, don't even look at it like that. See it more so as you're improving mobility, the ability to go out and do different things. So there are lots of non-scale victories. Look for these and celebrate them when they happen because there are so many times post-op where the pounds will slow down or they'll stop for a little bit. And you want to definitely kind of focus in on these things when those happen. Non-scale victories are different for everybody just because everyone starts at a different spot. But I've heard patients say, it was because I was able to walk to my mailbox today that I just felt really happy. I was able to bend over and touch my toes or tie my shoe. I was able to paint my toenails, see my feet. I was able to cross my legs while I was sitting. I was able to, walk around with my kids at Cedar Point and ride rides, whatever it might be. Those are the things that will keep you motivated, not necessarily just the number on the scale. So weigh weekly, hopping on that scale once a week, coming back to the scale. I know I was just talking about those non-scale victories, but what the scale is really good at, it's not telling us if we're doing good or bad. It is a data collector. It is there to help us see trends over time, help us find a good balance between not overweighing but not ignoring the scale either. A lot of our patients live by like a 5-pound rule or whatever number they want to set for themselves. If they start to see that they are gaining some weight back, if they start to gain back, let's say the 5-pound rule, so they've gained back 5 pounds. Maybe they start to really dissect their life. What did I stop doing? What did I start doing? Where is this weight gain coming from? Because we don't want to let it get out of hand. It's so unfortunate when people gain back their weight after surgery. So don't over obsess on the scale either. Don't hop on every day or multiple times a day. You are not seeing weight loss. You are seeing shifts in water. Did you eat something? Did you go to the bathroom? Do you have your clothes on? All sorts of other stuff. So try to do a weekly weigh-in. I think MyFitnessPal does a weekly reminder to do that. So if you don't have that app specifically, put a reminder in on your phone. Once again, create a good balance. Adequate sleep. There's not a magic number for sleep, but you should get well rested. Sleeping patterns might be unique to each individual, but the typical recommendation you'll see out there is 6 to 8 hours of sleep. You might have to split that up. It might not be the traditional like 10 to 6 o'clock. You can make it work however your work schedule allows you to. The reason why sleep is really important when it comes to weight and weight loss is that sleeping actually affects hormones related to appetite. So when it comes to not getting enough sleep, you make a hormone that makes you feel hungry. And if you get good sleep, it can actually make you create a hormone that makes you feel more satisfied throughout the day. So that can definitely help with your eating, keeping your eating pattern in check and keeping those cravings under control. When it comes to exercise and physical activity, just to kind of separate these, physical activity is a very large umbrella term. Exercise to me is extra. It's on top of your day to day. It's very focused. It's very goal oriented. Physical activity might be, parking further away at the grocery store, whereas exercise is going to be, I plan on walking 10 minutes on the treadmill after work today. But physical activity is the best predictor of successful weight loss, and having a good exercise regimen is going to help you increase that physical activity. Exercising and physical activity helps build habits and skills for weight loss and weight maintenance, increases energy levels, and helps decrease depressive mood. So it does help release some happy hormones. So when it comes to starting your exercise routine, if you think back to class 1, we talk about some of these, but set realistic goals, start somewhere. And pick an activity that you enjoy doing or that you can see yourself doing. So if you've got a lot of joint pain, get in the water, go swimming, do water aerobics, maybe do a recumbent bike or some other low impact activities like an elliptical. Aim for 60 minutes or more of exercise a day. That's a very big goal. So set baby steps along the way. You are allowed to divide that up throughout the day. You don't have to do 60 minutes all at one time. And we do recommend to try to get at least 30 minutes a day. But if you can get to 60, that would be great. Like it says there, physical activity is the best predictor of successful weight loss and weight maintenance. Change up your exercise routine every few weeks if you get bored. Also, it can help reduce plateaus or even help work different muscle groups. And these individuals in the study, taking it back to that study we talked about, they were aiming for less than 10 hours of TV a week. A lot of the time with TV, I think a lot of us end up multitasking. So I exercise sometimes when I watch TV, pop on whatever I might want to watch, and maybe I'll hop on my bike that I have at home. I have an exercise bike. Maybe it's using your phone to help kind of keep you entertained when you're exercise. But with the TV, just try to decrease the amount of time that you're sitting down throughout the day. So if you have a desk job, try to get up every hour or so and take a walk. When it comes to diet, what diet is the best after bariatric surgery? Honestly, a low-calorie diet. We don't really tend to force people to track carbohydrates or their fat intake. We really want them to track their calories and their protein. Adequate, well-spaced protein will help keep you fuller longer throughout the day. It'll allow you to utilize that protein the best that you can. Avoiding or watching out for liquid calories because these do not keep you very full for very long. And if you remember back to class 1 with the sugar slides, you can just tolerate sugar in a liquid form very differently than in a food format. Limit or avoid foods that are high in salt, sugar, and or fat. So these food items that are high in sugar, high in salt, and high in fat, they tend to be very addictive in nature. The reason being is that they make us happy. So if you watch somebody who has the electrodes kind of attached to their brain and they're monitoring it for activity, you can actually see the reward or the instant reward center. It lights up when you eat these foods. So like I said, it does make you happy. It's hard to stop eating them once you start eating them. So just kind of watch them, limit them, watch the portion sizing, or if it's really hard to, like we said, watch the portions with them, maybe it's kind of keeping them out of the house, maybe making them more so for special occasions. And when it comes to dairy products, look for that low fat. Low fat dairy will have less calories, but will still have good high quality protein. So just as a reminder, the weight loss is not overnight. It will take time. Most people lose about 50% of their expected weight loss in the first year, and then they continue to lose the rest of it. Maybe they'll be done at their 18-month. Maybe it will take into years 2 and 3 to lose that remaining expected weight. So don't expect weight loss overnight. We did not put the weight on overnight. We will not lose it all overnight. You need those lifestyle changes to help support that weight loss. So also in the nutrition category here, plan meals and meal prep if you can. This allows for portion control, prevents eating out just because you have something there. It's really easy to run through the drive-thru if you don't have the ingredients on hand to make a meal, or if you feel like you don't have enough time. It helps reduce the number of decisions regarding food choices. You don't have to open the pantry, open the cupboards, open the fridge, and wonder, what am I going to eat today? And it can help you save time and money just because it helps reduce eating out, and also can help reduce food waste or throwing away foods because you kind of have a plan for everything that comes into your house. So this is somebody who has meal prepped all of their meals. I would say you have to start with meal planning first. You kind of have to figure out what you want to eat throughout the week before you can get to the point of meal prepping. So meal planning not only includes planning out the meals, but it also may include writing the grocery list and then also shopping for those food items so they are there for you for the week. So I recommend doing that weekly. I know patients that do it bi-weekly or even every month. They are very, very organized. I cannot do it. I go for a week-to-week basis. And then from there, I do meal prep, but you don't necessarily have to meal prep everything. Like they have breakfast, lunch, dinner, all meal prepped, ready to go. Maybe you just meal prep your lunches so that way you can pack them quickly and take them to lunch. And that way you're not tempted to go out to eat or grab something from the cafeteria that you might not know, how many calories are in it, or, what's the nutrition status of that food. So that's all that we have. So that allowed us to talk about all of those things that were on that list, or recommended things to do to help with the weight maintenance long term, and just even helping with your weight loss journey in general. Bariatrics is very unique, but at the same point, it follows a lot of principles from other weight loss programs. So just be mindful. You can definitely learn from other people, like I was saying, and I think that's why it's great to go to the bariatric support groups if you're able to. Check them out. They are on Facebook, so that's that Malspital. Mallspital is Malspital. So Mal plus hospital, basically. That is run by patients. There aren't any employees in it except for Nikki, because she is also a patient of Dr. Karas's. But me as a dietitian, I don't have access to it. So you can, feel free to post and ask questions, and there's lots of people in the app that are post-op, but there are also some pre-op people in there too. So it's not a bad idea to kind of get to know people, ask people that are, having the same surgery type as you, or asking people who have had the same surgery type that you plan on having, so you can learn more from them. I think, like I said, it's a really nice resource. There are other bariatric support groups, but that Malspital is a group of bariatric patients that are from Avita. They're all Dr. Karas's patients. So that's a really great resource. They meet in person on the first Tuesday of the month. However, with everything that's going on, we are kind of looking at some online options. So keep an eye out for that. And if you haven't already, go ahead and follow Dr. Karas on social media. She does posts or updates about the bariatric clinic and the bariatric program. So hopefully this is class 4. So if you've been able to take the classes in order, this will be your last one. And so the only thing that you should have left nutrition wise is to finish that final nutrition assessment. And if you have questions about that, feel free to reach out. And at the end of this video, please go and complete the quiz. We're going to be using the quizzes to help us with charting, and that's what we use to help get you approved by your insurance company. So we will need you to complete that quiz. We don't want to have to call you over and over again to have to remind you about it. So alrighty, that's everything for today. And like I said, if this is your last nutrition class, then all you should have left is your nutrition final clearance.